Everybody, this is Sean. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for your support over the years. Thank you for sharing these videos. Thank you for commenting. I appreciate all of you. So in today's video, we're going to talk about instructors. I'm going to touch on it a little bit, but I'm going to talk about how we got comments. I do get suggestions. I have over 1,000 videos, maybe 1,100 videos. And if you comment on any video, I do respond. If it's a disrespectful comment, I mean, obviously not going to respond, right? But there's some people that ask some good questions. And then one of the questions revolved around, how do I become a guard card instructor? Like, what are the classes I need to take? I'm going to address that in the members only section. I mean, I'm going to go a little bit more thorough into it, and we'll open up a little bit more dialogue in the members only section. Guys, if you're not subscribed on the Sergeant Special, it's a members only section of YouTube. I don't even know how much it costs a month. But there is probably some videos that you like, especially if you're in California. Whenever there's a special request for a topic, I usually answer the members only guys first. And that's just one way that I can monetize the channel. I think like a 1/3 or 1/4 of the revenue from YouTube comes from members only. So I appreciate you guys. I appreciate everybody else. And to show my appreciation, just give me a couple of days, and some of these members only videos, I'll make them public to everybody. So eventually everybody's going to get a benefit. It's just when you're members only, you get the benefit a little bit earlier. So let's go back to guard card instructors, okay? Guys, most guard card instructors misrepresent their experience. They have none. I worked for, I don't want to say a Fortune 500, but I worked for a premier security company on their management staff, and they're a large company. I mean, you're talking about over 200 guards. And the CEO of the company asked me an honest question, and that honest question is, or was, can I teach the guard card class? And my answer is absolutely no. This person wanted to know why, and respectfully I said, because you don't have any experience. You don't have any guard experience. You don't have any law enforcement experience. You don't have any correctional experience. Your credibility is going to be shot in your first class. They're going to ask an industry-specific question, and they are going to get an incompetent response because you have no experience to back it up. Like, you probably make $10 million a year in all your profits, but you haven't spent one day on a footbeat as a private security guard. And for that reason, you have no credibility. If you were to be taken to court for some reason, because of misrepresentation or something else, you wouldn't stand a chance on that defendant chair. You wouldn't. Most attorneys would just blow you away on the stand. You might get somebody like me. So I'm qualified as an expert witness for private investigator standards. I think it was 2020. Oh my goodness, I forgot the year. I don't know, it was 19 or 18 or 20. I forgot the year. But I was Boyd Dyard on the stand, and I qualified as expert. I was actually kind of surprised. So in administrative court in California Department of Consumer Affairs, I qualified as an expert witness for private investigator standards. So I know what it takes to become an expert witness. And if I have to testify against a security company, I will blow them away on the stand, so to speak, with my qualifications. Compare mine to yours, and when I say yours, I'm talking about the person who hasn't set a day on a post, who has no supervisory experience. You're gonna get blown away. So then the question is, what's required? In California, there's nothing required. Everything that is required is made as a requirement in terms of civil litigation. So a security company may have been sued for not providing the training that they say that they're going to train. Some type of negligence occurs. Somehow it comes back to the training organization and it goes back to the instructor, right? Are there cases like that? They're very rare, I will admit, but they happen and you need to be prepared. Anyhow, what I mean by this is this. In California, there's no class to take to become a guard card instructor. There's nothing. Maybe I'll develop something, right? Train the trainer, guard card, or powers to arrest instructor. So the way the BSIS, the Bureau of Security Investigative Services, the way they look at it is the PPO, the private patrol operator, or the training entity has to hire a qualified person to teach the guard card course. Now, the guard card course is an 8-hour course. It's an initial class that you take in California to get your credentials. Now, if you are chiming in from another state, there might be a guard card equivalent. Matter of fact, there probably is. Hey, what's up, Mike from the Professional Security Journal? There is some type of, there might be some type of instructor equivalent, and maybe there's some training that's required. But to teach the actual guard card class, there's no legislative requirement. The requirements revolve around civil law, civil litigation, negligence, right? And that is so ambiguous. It's so ambiguous as to who can teach it. So the first thing I want to touch on first, and I'm kind of going into the members only section right now. You have to have somebody that understands the law of trespassing, right? How does it work? This can be a police officer. This can be a security officer. You should have experience. You should have experience giving 602 warnings to trespassers. And 602 is the California Penal Code for trespassing. Some people call it 86 them. Like, hey, we're going to 86 them, right? Somebody has some code. Somebody in different organizations uses different codes. But that's the first thing. You have to have you should have a working basis on trespass laws. Second, hey, what's up, Giannis? Protective Services. Second, you should have an understanding of implicit bias, explicit bias, harassment. And normally you get these experiences working as a supervisor in security. My experiences when it comes to explicit, implicit bias, and all these other DEI nomenclature or DMI terminology words, it was as a law enforcement supervisor. I do have some experience as a security supervisor where we ran into these types of situations. But if I have to go to the stand and I have to draw out my experiences, that's where it comes from. But you have these cookie cutter instructors out there. They've been on the job the longest, and therefore they make the best instructor. And that's the rationale that a lot of security companies use. And that's not the case. You have to have somebody that has that experience. Also, what's covered in the guard card class, and if you're chiming in from another state, the same requirements, legal requirements, might apply to your state as well, or the same explanation. Now, use of force. If you are a police officer, or you were a police officer or law enforcement officer, use of force was really ingrained in you, and especially a California police officer. You know escalation of force, you know de-escalation of force very well. As a security officer, you know it as well. However, I don't believe that those experiences were professionalized in a certificate. What I mean by that is states like California require these types of training, right? There's a class in the basic police academy called use of force. There's a class, in the police academy right now, it's called racial or cultural diversity, and it covers implicit bias, explicit bias. That's where you get these experiences from, right? You get these training nuggets, so to speak. Okay. But especially the escalation of force or de-escalation of force, I mean, you can formalize it in the form of a certificate, and police officers can normally show that. With security officers, it's different, right? What you're going to have to do as a security trainer, if you don't have no law enforcement experience, you're going to have to explain your use of force. Training comes from your firearms instructor course, your chemical agent instructor course, your less lethal instructor course. In California, if you are a California post instructor for any type of weapon discipline, it is mandatory by the Peace Officer Standards Training Post that you cover de-escalation of force. So that's what you would explain. Hey, on these dates, I attended the 40-hour firearms instructor course in Imperial County, and it was a California post-certified course. The course outline, which is public information, by the way, that covered the de-escalation of force. And also it talked about what reasonable and necessary force is. And it even, we even discussed different criminal code sections and case laws. Now, you might be saying, well, that's the use of force for police. We're in security, Sean. You haven't, if that's your argument, you have not read the Guard Card manual lately, okay? What they did is basically asked Post, hey, help us develop a manual. Post, some of the guys are lazy at Post. They're not given additional funds to help out BSIS. So they're like, okay, cool. We'll just copy and paste what we have for police officers and paste it on the BSIS manual, and we'll give the golden stamp of approval. That's what usually happens. And again, Post usually has no working experience of security. And it's because of that, we have words that don't even belong in the security industry, like community policing, police, or policing. The community policing the concept doesn't work as good as it would work in law enforcement. But, that's the topic of another story. Supervisory responsibilities. Okay, you want to teach the Guard Car class. When you're on the stand, they're going to vote diary you, right? They're going to try to incriminate you, right? I'm sorry, they're going to try to impeach you. Hey, Sean is not qualified. Here's why. You call yourself, you're called a Guard Card instructor. Let's talk about what qualifies you to be a Guard Card instructor. There's a significant portion of supervisor responsibilities in the new Guard Card curriculum. How are you going to explain management responsibilities, security guard supervisor responsibilities, if you've never been a supervisor in security or at all? I would blow that section away. Like if I was calling the stand, I have at least, I don't even remember how many years I have, but I have at least 7 years of full-time experience in supervision. Full-time. It's not a supervisor here or there. It's full-time. If you talk about here and there, it's probably 10 years or maybe 11 years. That's maybe that doesn't sound like a lot of experience, but for a jury sitting there, that's going to give them more of a thumbs up for your approval, for you to actually be a qualified Guard Card instructor, right? Now, if you're saying, damn, Sean, I want to teach a Guard Card class, I have no supervisor experience, don't worry about it. If you go to school or you taking some management training or something like that, you can use that experience to articulate your qualifications. Let's just say you took a college level class on supervision, or even a supervisory class by a private vendor. That all counts, and it's up to the jury in many circumstances to assign credibility to you being an instructor. It's totally up to them, which is actually a good thing, right? You start giving them all these certificates, from these organizations where you attended management or leadership training, it actually helps. Report writing. That's another component of a good guard car instructor. Do you have any experience writing reports or approving reports? If you submit your curriculum vitae, I'm probably mispronouncing it, or your resume to the court, to the other attorneys, and you're misspelling some words, and then, okay, you're misspelling the words, and then you're over here testifying that you have report writing experience, yet you didn't even know how to write. I mean, countless times I've seen security companies publish misspell words on their patrol cars. Signs misspell words. Even when they get approval from the BSIS or from the state to operate a security company, sometimes they misspell their name. Sometimes they misspell their parents misspell their name. I kid you not, guys. I ran into so many people with misspelled names, like their parents. Yeah, I'm not gonna say the word retarded, right? Because that's not a really polite word. It's kind of rude. It's kind of like Sean, right? It's supposed to be spelled S-H-A-U-N, but some parents spell it S-E-A-N. Guys, that's not Sean, that's Cian. Even W, right? S-H-A-W, that's not how you spell it. Oh, man, I'm just playing around with you guys, right? Because my name is spelled S-H-A-U-N. You guys get it, right? Let me mess with somebody's name here. It's like Michael, right? Let me not know how to spell it and spell it M-I-K-E-L, like Michael or something like that. What else? Or Randy, right? R-A-N-D-E-E. Add an I to it. Randy. Right? Yeah, that's even pronounced wrong. M-I-C-H-E-A-L. Come on, it's Michael. M-I-C-H-A-E-L. Potato sometimes, right? Anyhow, my point before I got sidetracked was that you don't even know how to spell and write a sentence, and then you're up on the stand advertising that you're a guard car instructor. Guard car instructors, they have to understand report writing. Now, can you get experience from report writing without being a supervisor or manager, right? Can you? And the answer is absolutely yes. As a line staff member, you can. Hey, that's another name that could be misspelled. Robert. R-O-B-U-R-T. Robert. Oh, man. I'm having too much fun today. What else? Guard car class. What else is covered in there? Duty to intercede. This is the most stupidest topic that was ever placed in the guard card manual. Duty to intercede, because the guard card manual, you would think that they would tell you, hey, you have a duty to intercede, a duty to break up a fight if your partner started some type of fight, right? But no, it tells you that you have no liability with regards to duty to intercede. Like that's more of like a law enforcement role, law enforcement obligation. Law enforcement, if you don't remove your partner, if your partner is the aggressor, you don't remove your partner, you can be arrested. It's a chargeable offense if you don't intercede. The guys at post, didn't know what to put because that new law didn't even apply to security. So that they basically put it doesn't apply to security or something to that effect. It just doesn't make sense, right? What else? Okay, so summary. Do you need any credentials to be a guard card instructor in California? No, you don't. And I'll talk about it more when I do my members only video. You don't. But there's certain classes and experience that you need in order for you to withstand the test of time. What's going to end up happening if you throw some idiot as a guard card instructor, or maybe you are the idiot, maybe you are the moron, and you think you know everything, and you think I'm going to be a guard card instructor. Well, what is going to end up happening one of these days is that instructor is going to give bad advice or fail to provide instruction as per the requirements of the manual, and somebody out there is going to incur liability. Okay, that person's going to end up getting sued for $200,000, $300,000. They're going to lose. They're going to be out of money. They're going to have a judgment against them. You know what they could do is go back to the guard card instructor. Hey, this person the keywords here is this. This person misrepresented their qualifications as a guard card instructor. Just by advertising that you are a guard card instructor, you're giving others the impression that you're qualified to teach the class. Because the BSIS, the Business Professions Code, requires a qualified person to teach, even though they don't lay out what a qualified person is. It's up to the individual security company to lay out those qualifications. But they have to be based on something. They have to be based on a standard. But in the end, you are advertising. When you advertise guard card classes, you're advertising that you have a competent guard card instructor. And if you have an incompetent guard card instructor, you have an idiot teaching these classes, that is considered, if there's some type of loss involved, and you depended on that guard card instructor's experiences in order to provide adequate training, that instructor, okay, or that organization can be held liable in civil law for misrepresentation. Misrepresentation. That is a tort violation. So this company that just lost $200,000 in a lawsuit, they might consider going back after the instructor. Now, is this something common? No, this is something rare. It usually doesn't happen. But shouldn't this discussion be part of your risk management strategies? Because I don't know about you guys. For me, if something can possibly happen, I always have the worst of luck, and it usually happens. You want to teach guard card? Get a firearms instructor certificate. Get a chemical agent certificate, a pepper spray instructor certificate, a baton instructor certificate. That helps you explain use of force. It helps you get closer to being more qualified. We go to the comments. JB says, BSI just issued me my PPO license in February. Yeah, awesome. Awesome. Robert says, that's crazy. In Texas, you have to have a DPS license experience to be a guard card instructor. Yes. Giannis says, when you work for the PPO, you can teach in-house class, any course available. Only when you teach to outside your company do you have to have a training facility license, from my understanding. There's no prevention. I mean, that makes sense, but I don't know anything in the Business Professions Code that prevents a PPO from training outside students. If there is, let me know. I could be wrong. I'm almost always wrong. Every time, several times a year, people prove me wrong. So if you find something, reach out and we'll have a discussion on that. But As of right now, I don't know of any business professions code or California code of regulations that prevents that. And then you can't even enforce it because, unlike Florida, Californians don't know where you worked as a security officer. Robert says, fascinating. Yeah, you don't have to be a DPS certified in Texas in-house or not. Okay, thank you for mentioning that. Also, Garcia says, how could the instructor be liable when the company that hired them should be teaching them their policies? No, that's actually that's a good talking point. That's a really good talking point. Yeah, that's another thing is like, hey, that the security company is supposed to be teaching you the policies. But look, it goes under the loser theory, the bigger pockets theory, right? We'll go after the security company that probably has more money, or we'll go after the security. See, the loser theory is, hey, you know what? We just lost the lawsuit. Let's go after the security training organization, right? And guys, the honest truth is that a lot of these security companies, they depend on the security training organizations to help them form policy. Like suspect approaches, suspicious person approaches. That might not be a security. That might not be in a security manual, and that company might be depending on a security organization for providing the best standards possible. Same thing with active shooter training. Most security companies do not have qualified staff to teach the active shooter training block. There's an active shooter training block in the guard card course. They teach it anyways, right? And are there security companies that have active shooter policy? Yeah, there are, but some contract to security training organizations for that additional level of training. So as to your point, that's a very valid point, that security companies want their guards to follow the policy. And also, in a lawsuit, we should be looking at the policy first. But thank you for mentioning that. JG says, I want my instructor license for guard card and firearm permit. I'm not going to address the guard card instructor license because we've been discussing that the past 20 minutes. But for your firearm permit, you definitely need to get an NRA law enforcement firearm instructor credential or a California Post firearms instructor credential. Or maybe you worked at the Department of Corrections or the California Highway Patrol and they offer their own firearm permit course, or you work for a federal agency. All of those qualifications count. Now, if your class is under 40 hours or under 32 hours, you probably took the wrong class. Robert says, how many hours is a class in California to be an armed guard? It's a 2-day class. It's roughly about 16 hours, but it's 2 days. Normally, it's 1 day of classroom, and then day 2 is actually range practice. And Oso Garcia gave us the muscle emoji, showing that he has been acknowledged. Okay, that's all I got, guys. If you ask me how to become a guard card instructor, you can probably drive me to insanity because we just talked about it. But anyhow, I am definitely going to address this topic in the members only section, and then sooner or later I do release it to the general public so everybody else can watch. Okay, guys, that's all I got. Take care.